When it comes to compact SUVs, Volkswagen was a little late to the party when they introduced the original Tiguan to the States all the way back in 2009. Now, that original model wasn't quite a strong seller because it was a little too small and too expensive for US buyers. The company followed it up with a supersized second generation, which grew in size, adding a ton more interior space and comfort, which allowed the Tiguan to become the brand's best-selling model in the States in the recent years. So for 2025, it's time for Volkswagen to introduce an all-new third generation. As you can see, it's a pretty comprehensive one. We're talking about an all-new platform underneath, brand new styling on the outside, more power under the hood, and a hugely upgraded interior with a massive 15-inch touchscreen. So today, as you can see, we are here at a studio in downtown Los Angeles with the latest Tiguan. And now that we're finally seeing the new version in the sheet metal, let's go ahead and take a first look. Now, as the brand's best-selling model, an all-new Tiguan is obviously a big deal. And before we start talking about the all-new exterior styling, I thought I'd pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, I mentioned in the introduction that Volkswagen has given this vehicle a power boost, and that's courtesy of an updated engine. This is the 2-liter turbocharged gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder. It's known as the EA888. Now in its fifth generation, they call it, I guess, Evo 5. And Volkswagen says the power output is now 201 horsepower, and that's due to hardware changes that basically allow it to also be more efficient, also friction reduction techniques. The company hasn't confirmed what the torque figure is. The old model made around 221 pound-feet of torque. They're expecting it to be pretty similar, but with 201 horsepower, it now has about 17 more ponies versus the previous generation. It all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission, and Volkswagen says you can take your pick between either front or the company's 4Motion all-wheel drive. Now, because this is still a very early first look, we don't have final fuel economy figures just yet, but the company is promising it to be more fuel efficient. The old model was rated at around 22, 29 mpg, so I expect it to be well over 30 now for the highway figure especially. Towing capacity also did improve slightly. The company says the all-wheel drive versions will now tow a maximum of 1,800 pounds. That's around 300 pounds more versus the previous model, although it still lags a little bit behind some of its competitors. And the other big story with this new generation is it's built off of their latest generation MQB Evo architecture, something that it shares with the GTI and Golf R, the newest versions. They were able to reduce the weight of this vehicle by nearly 200 pounds, and the old Tiguan needed that weight reduction because it was among the heaviest vehicles in the segment. So I would estimate this car comes in probably at around 3,800 pounds, which kind of puts it right in line with a lot of its competitors. I also want you to notice the hoods are held up by an actual struts as opposed to a prop rod. That kind of shows you that Volkswagen is trying to get back to their premium routes because that's something that they've been known for the last several decades. But closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling for this all-new third generation. Now, first of all, I was actually a really big fan of the previous generation Tiguan, especially when they refreshed it in 2022. It just was a really handsome and sophisticated SUV. They've really taken that up to the next level for this third generation. This particular one that we're showing you is an SEL R-Line. It's the top-of-the-line model. The R-Line, as you guys know, is kind of like their sport appearance package. Volkswagen will offer it in 4 different trims, starting at the base, ending at this SEL R-Line. This color is called Sandstone Uni. It's a really nice looking color. It flows really nicely, of course, with the upgraded headlights. You can see the SEL includes their IQ Light full LED headlight technology. These are the premium LEDs where you get the full LED light bar, the illuminated Volkswagen logo, those LED daytime running lights and turn signals, LED low and high beams. You also have LED all-weather fog lights, although the fog lights aren't down here. They're actually built into the actual headlight assembly. And with the R-Line, you get a more aggressive front area with lots of gloss black here, as you can see, with some kind of silver painted accents at the front fascia. It definitely gives it a more almost sophisticated Touareg-like design, and I really like that. And if you guys are assuming most of these vents are actually fake, they're not. There's actually a functional air intake opening up to the side, and of course in the center of the grille there are functional air intake openings because this vehicle is not a hybrid or mild hybrid. It is a pure gas engine vehicle. Volkswagen wasn't ready to talk about if they are going to offer a hybrid at some point. Now, moving around the side profile, being that this is built off of the MQB Evo architecture, they were able to kind of change the dimensions slightly, although it's not quite different versus the previous generation. What you're noticing right away is this vehicle has a lot more of a squared off look, but they were able to basically keep the wheelbase the same at around 110 inches long. Its overall length is actually around 2 inches shorter, and that's kind of a good thing because the old model was a little bit too long for the competitive set. They actually basically reduced the 2 inches in the front and rear overhangs, and at around 184 inches long, it's still, again, kind of a little bit longer than some of its competitors like the Honda CR-V and the Toyota RAV4. Now looking at the wheels, Volkswagen will offer a choice between 17, 18, 19, or 20-inch wheels. These are the 20s that you get with the SEL R-Line package. As you can see, I love the kind of directional look with the machine and black finish to them. It's riding on a 255 by 40 R20-inch tire. Those are massive tires, especially when you look at this segment of vehicle. The brakes, they didn't tell us what the actual size of the rotors are, but you can see it's got four-wheel disc brakes, four-wheel independent suspension. I also really like the sandstone uni color with the kind of gloss black around the wheel arch trim. You can also see there's some really nice reflector lights here in the fender, along with the integrated turn signals in the side mirrors. And you can see here the R-Line, or the R badge here, that looks like it was lifted directly off of a Volkswagen Golf R. So again, it kind of gives this thing a more sophisticated and sportier look to it. In fact, the entire profile of the vehicle to me kind of looks like a baby Touareg, or the reintroduction of the Touareg. That was one of my favorite VW SUVs back in the day. Now, as you can see here with this trim, you do have some chrome accents along the window trim. You also have these really nice silver accented roof rails. And then on our SELs, you also get the standard panoramic sunroof, which also opens up to vent air. VW says you can also get that sunroof, the pano roof, on the SE trim as part of an option package. Now, moving around to the rear of the vehicle, you can see, love, again, the shortened rear overhang. It kind of fixes some of the issues that I had with the previous generation, where I thought it looked a little ungainly from this angle of the vehicle. You can see there is a nice subtle rear spoiler at the top. The new LED light system, as you can see, with the IQ light, or the LED light bar, the illuminated Volkswagen logo, the LED turn signals. And I also want you to notice this little detail here. If you look where the taillight kind of goes into the second portion in the actual tailgate, usually there's like a sharp cutoff here, but as you can see, Volkswagen engineers were kind of able to extend the light into the corner there, which kind of gives it that floating effect. It's a much more seamless transition. It's a small little detail that I think people who are a little OCD will kind of appreciate that little detail as well. You can see over in the rear bumper, there are some fake vents over here with the gloss black, but again, it's very tasteful, especially with the sandstone uni. I like the fact that VW is no longer creating those fake exhaust outlets that are kind of integrated into the bumper. Instead, they've kind of tucked it underneath the rear bumper, which gives it a much more cleaner and sophisticated look. There is some badging back here with the Tiguan badge, the 4Motion badge. That's how you know you have all-wheel drive. And then on the SE black R-Line, you can also basically get black badges back here, which I believe Volkswagen is saying that's the first time they are offering that on the Tiguan from the factory. Now, looking at the cargo area, you can see they didn't have final figures just yet for us on the cargo capacity. The old Tiguan had one of the biggest cargo areas in the segment. The one thing you're going to notice, however, is the new version is no longer available with a third row. The third row in the previous generation was only offered on the front-wheel drive versions. It was a really small and useless third row, so I'm kind of glad that it's gone. And because they shrank the rear overhang by a couple inches, the company says that cargo space should be similar, but it's most likely going to be a little bit less. The old model offered around 38 cubic feet of storage space, which expanded to around 73. Honestly, it had a ton of space already in this class, so having this one be a little bit smaller is still going to give it very competitive space. You can see to the side there's a little bit of storage. If you look underneath here, there's also a temporary spare tire with all of your necessary tools to actually change out your flats. So there is still a pretty decent amount of underfloor storage. If you want to fold down the seats, you can also do so by pulling that little lever. You can see it creates a mostly flat floor, which again expands the cargo to basically what I would say something similar to what you find in like a RAV4 and a CR-V. The one thing that Volkswagen did, however, lose with no more third row is the seats. They no longer have the recline or sliding feature, which again, that added a lot of weight and complexity. And basically the cargo area here is pretty similar to what you're going to find in a lot of its main rivals. So obviously Volkswagen did an amazing job with the exterior design of the new Tiguan, but what about the interior? This is where, again, the company made some huge upgrades, especially if you were disappointed in the technology of the previous generation. You can see this model that we're showing you here, being the fully loaded version, comes with these beautiful amber brown two-tone leather bucket seats. You can see it includes some contrast stitching and piping. I love the fact that you also have kind of like a quilted leather. These seats are 12-way power adjustment, and you also have a three-person memory on the driver's side over here, and on the passenger side as well. You also have heat, ventilation, and massaging. Now, if you want the heat, ventilation, and massaging, you have to go for this top trim, but the fact that VW offers a massaging seat in this segment is really unheard of. It basically almost puts this car into another price category, or at least another luxury category, and it kind of makes me think, will people actually compare this to a CR-V or RAV4, because it's very, very nice. Now, stepping inside, you can see it's an SUV. You have a really nice, easy step-in height. When I close the door also has a really solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is the new MQB Evo architecture, so It is going to be stiffer, it's going to be stronger, and I really like the overall feel when you step inside. Now here's the key fob for the vehicle. You can see this is the current intelligent access key that comes on many Volkswagen models. It actually feels really heavy. It has really nice materials, lots of piano black. You can see there's usual buttons here for lock, power liftgate, unlock, panic, and then you also have remote start from the fob. And then when you want to get inside the vehicle, if you want to push the start stop button, I won't start the vehicle because we're kind of in this studio here, but when you turn all the electronics on, you can see the technology in this vehicle. It just got a massive upgrade, because if you guys remember our review on the 2024 version, it topped out at an 8-inch center screen, which also had their older MIB3 software system. You can see for this new version, a standard or all trims will come with a 12.9-inch center touchscreen. However, if you guys go for this trim, the top trim, you'll get an even larger 15-inch touchscreen here. So this is basically the same screen that we've seen in something like the ID.7. As you can see, my phone is connected via the wireless CarPlay, and it also has Android Auto. It has over-the-air software updates. It connected very flawlessly, and I love the size of that display. That's actually the largest display that you're going to find in the segment. So bravo to Volkswagen for really bringing the tech. You can see it still has those slider controls over here for volume and for your climate. There's actually 3-zone climate, but now they are finally backlit. So again, that was a criticism that Volkswagen faced earlier. When this system first came out. The instrument panel, as you can see here, is their 10.25-inch digital cockpit display. You can slightly customize the way that looks, especially by changing the ambient lighting. The steering wheel, as you can see, has actual buttons here. So as opposed to the touch-sensitive buttons that people complained about, Volkswagen went with a more traditional actual button over here with the flat bottom design, the R-line badging over here. The steering wheel feels really nice. It's got the new Volkswagen logo. And then looking at the door panels, you can see beautiful soft touch injection molded plastic with the stitching here. It's got also really attractive ambient lighting in this car. Over 30 different colors. There's ambient lighting in the door underneath over here. You can see it's a beautiful amber brown leather over here with a nice padded area for where you'd rest your elbows. The window controls, they feel really high quality and tactile. And I believe they're one touch for all four, but this is a really early pre-production model, so we'll have to wait until we get a production version to kind of confirm all that. Down here in this lower area, it is hard touch plastic, but there is some nice storage as well. The dashboard, as you can see, has a brand new design, and it carries over the beautiful, nice materials here with the soft touch injection molded plastic and the contrast stitching. There's some piano black as well, but what you're also looking at over here is real American walnut decor. This real wood trim looks like it was lifted out of basically an Audi luxury vehicle. It looks amazing with the kind of contrast on the two-tone with the brown, the black. Over here you can see there's real leather and contrast stitching and piping on this lower portion. With the way the dashboard vents look, they are a traditional adjustment, which I appreciate. There's more beautiful ambient lighting here. And then over on the center console, you can see there's still really nice padded leather area. You have a cup holder area here with additional storage. And then this right here is interesting because, as you can see, it's a volume knob, which I love that it's a volume knob because you don't have to use these annoying touch sliders to adjust the audio, or you could also use the steering wheel controls. But if you're looking at this volume knob, it also has an actual display in there. So if I want to adjust the volume, I can do that here. It actually shows you the level of the volume here, and it also shows it to you on the screen as well, which is fantastic. But if you tap down on that screen, you can see it now. It adjusts to your drive mode selector. So now it offers basically two different functions. It also shows you that over there. And then if you want, just like an Apple Watch, you can also swipe. If you swipe, it goes into the atmosphere adjustment. So now I can basically adjust the ambient lighting color in this vehicle. You can see it actually changes the color in the screen and in the instrument panel and on the actual volume rotating display here. So that, again, is a really unexpected touch. And I love the fact that Volkswagen is really pushing the envelope here when it comes to technology. Now, there is a couple of things here that I don't like the piano black plastic trim. It does have that electronic parking brake here. There's also another storage area over here. My wireless phone charging pad is there with the two USB-C charging ports. This center console, as you can see, is nice and padded. It also opens up. You can also take this out and reveal a slightly deeper storage area. There's a 12-volt, traditional 12-volt power outlet. And then, just like in the GTI and Golf R, this little center console also adjusts. So you can adjust it forward and back. You can also change the angle of it as well. So this is a really nice feature that Volkswagen was taking out on a lot of their cars. So it's great to see them bringing it back. Now, if you guys are an audiophile, this model also comes with a 12-speaker Harman Kardon premium sound. I haven't had a chance to hear it yet. We're in a studio. I'll have to wait until I get one for a week to test that out. You can see above me here, that panoramic glass roof is massive. It also has a built-in sun or wind deflector. You also have a retractable shade. It lets in a ton of light. And again, this is a feature that I think a lot of people are going to really appreciate. So it's great to see. Glove compartment, you can see, is damped but not lined with felt. It offers a pretty decent amount of storage. And then I also forgot to mention the massaging seats in this car. So to access it, there's basically a quick button that you could basically push on the seat right here. as well. It's on the passenger side. And I have to say, guys, the massage offers 10 different types of massage. And I was actually really impressed with how good the massage is. You can basically, it's a backrest massage. And this is not the cheapy massage, but basically inflates and deflates the bolsters. You can actually feel this thing giving you a genuine massage that feels like the last massage that I tested out in a BMW and a Mercedes or an Audi. So it's great to see Volkswagen offering that. Now you do have to buy this top trim to get the feature, but again, this is something that you won't even find in a CR-V or a RAV4. Your heated and cooled seat controls are located here on the screen. You can also go click the dedicated home button here to go back to that. You can also change your ambient lighting here. You can go to that and it brings up all your different sources. You can also customize this by dragging an area. You can change what icon you want over here based on what you technically use the most. So again, lots of customization. Being that this is an early pre-production model, the software behind it also is really quick and snappy. And really, I think Volkswagen has raised the bar here on what we expect the interiors to be in a compact SUV, a mainstream compact SUV. So I'll be curious to know what the price tag is going to be for this top trim. But let's go and hop into the backseat area. I want to show you guys what that space is like. Now, the one cool thing about the previous generation Tiguan is you had a back seat that allowed you to basically recline and slide the second row seats forward and back. That feature has been removed, and that's because we no longer have that third row. So as you can see, you can basically fold the seat down. It expands the cargo. It's almost a completely flat floor. They did, however, remove the recline function, which would have been nice to keep, but it's kind of okay because most of the competitors don't have that feature. Once I climb back here, we don't have the final legroom figures just yet. But the old model had around 39 inches of legroom, and I expect this model to have something pretty similar. Now, as you can see, this is not where I have the seat to drive, but there's still a ton of space for me to stretch out my legs, to basically cross my legs, to get comfortable back here. Nice low floor as well. You have a big hump, however, for the center passenger. If you guys plan to put 3 people across, you do have 2 USB-C charging ports. There's a third zone climate, as you can see on this trim, and you also have 3-level heated seats. That's a feature you didn't have on the previous generation, and you also have these nice integrated dash vents. There's also a heads-up display. I forgot to mention that on this trim. Volkswagen is now including a heads-up display. You couldn't get that previously. And then in terms of the materials back here, they did downgrade this slightly. It's a hard touch injection molded plastic. You do have more ambient lighting in the rear door area. This is only on the SEL R-Line models. The SE Black R-Line won't have the ambient lighting in the rear door area. You can see still nice and padded here where you'd rest your elbow, more additional storage as well. In terms of the headroom space, even though it's got that panoramic roof, I still have a good solid couple inches of headroom here at 5'7", and the seat also is pretty comfortable. It has a nice recline to it. There's good thigh support. The leather also feels really supple. It feels high quality. And then if you fold down this armrest here, you can see there's a cup holder that's built in. So really, if you guys are planning to use this as a family vehicle, one of the big selling features of the previous generation was its gigantic back seat. So it's great to see Volkswagen has carried that over, even though they made this new generation slightly smaller on the outside. So in the early days, Volkswagen was primarily a car brand. Remember, this is known as the people's car brand. And even though Americans have moved to SUVs, the company has basically allowed themselves to kind of move with the market, because their total sales here in the US, about 3/4 or more than 3/4 of their total sales are actually SUVs. So obviously, the Tiguan is a very important model because Volkswagen did around 74,000 units in the US in 2023. So with the all-new third generation, I wouldn't be surprised to see Volkswagen eventually double that number, because as you guys saw, this new version is quite a handsome looking vehicle. I personally think it's the best looking vehicle in the segment. The interior also really raises the bar in terms of luxury and technology. I was not expecting them to give us the biggest screen, the most comfortable seats with a massage function, a gigantic back seat, and a decently sized cargo area. Really, the only thing that I'm seeing that Volkswagen is missing is just a hybrid option. Now, obviously, we haven't had a chance to drive this vehicle yet. I'm hoping I can do that sometime next year. I did like the fact that they added an extra almost 20 horsepower, because that was kind of the sour point of the previous generation. It was a little bit sluggish, especially if you had it loaded up with people and stuff, but Volkswagen has promised that they've tuned the engine to be a lot more responsive, and with nearly 20 more horsepower and nearly 200 pounds of weight reduction, it should be able to keep pace with a lot of those hybrid and turbocharged offerings that you're going to find in the segment. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on the all-new Tiguan, What's it going to cost? Well, sadly, we don't have final pricing yet for this vehicle. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer. That's because Volkswagen says when this vehicle goes on sale in North America sometime in early summer of next year, it will be a 2025 model year. These will be built at their Puebla, Mexico assembly plant, so it'll be built in North America. The old model started at around $28,000, went up to around 40 grand. I wouldn't be surprised to see this model obviously get more expensive, but I would say Volkswagen should be able to keep the price in the $30,000 range to start. That's my estimation. This fully loaded version here, really who knows what this will cost. With all the features that they've added, I wouldn't be surprised to see them increase the price to maybe the mid $40,000 range, which I know it is more expensive than the old model, but with all the level of luxury and technology they've added, really they've basically given us Audi levels of luxury and technology. Really, it's kind of a justified price increase. So if you guys are looking for basically a compact SUV that has plenty of room for your family, but again, doesn't quite have the sticker shock price tag of something like a luxury brand, you should definitely wait for this new Tiguan to come out, because this, I think, is going to be a game changer when it goes on sale sometime in mid next year. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.